India make it through to the semi-finals of the T20 World Cup after a clinical run chase, but it wasn't straightforward. This match was effectively a quarter-final. The winner goes through to the semi-final against England, and the loser is out of the tournament. Both teams posted massive totals to overpower Zimbabwe, and both teams were well and truly outplayed by South Africa before this game. The key difference is that India did not expect to be in this position where they had to win their last game in order to progress. India posted their highest ever T20 World Cup score in the previous match against Zimbabwe. For some, this might have settled any batting concerns that arose from their collapse against South Africa, but for others, due to the relative lack of quality of Zimbabwe's bowlers, might have still had that doubt. The West Indies suffered their first loss of the tournament to South Africa on Thursday. An early batting collapse in that fixture meant they were only able to post 176 on a good batting track, a total which South Africa made light work of. In spite of their stumble against South Africa, India remained favourites to win this match and the whole tournament. India named an unchanged 11 from their clash against Zimbabwe. Rinku Singh is back from the squad after leaving following the death of his father, but he sat out for this game. West Indies made one change, opting to play an extra bowler as Akeal Hosein comes in for Brandon King. He missed the West Indies clash with South Africa but played the rest of the West Indies games in this tournament. The South Africa fixture which he missed was also the only game that the West Indies lost in this tournament. India won the toss and elected to bowl. Suryakumar Yadav expected the pitch to get better as the game progressed, and he believed that dew would also become a factor. What's interesting is that up to this point, India batted first in every match of the tournament, largely because they've lost every toss bar one, except for the South Africa game where they fielded first and lost, which was also their only loss of the tournament. The West Indies made an interesting decision, opening the batting with Ross and Chase alongside Shai Hope. This was the first time Chase had ever opened the batting in T20 internationals. As they did against Zimbabwe, India opened the bowling with Arshdeep and Hardik. The West Indies felt the effect of a new opening partnership as there was an early mix-up between the wickets, but Varun threw to the wrong end. Despite this, they were doing well, putting on 23 for no loss in the first 3 overs. India again delayed bringing on Bumrah. Akshar Patel came to bowl in the 4th over. This was only his second power play over of the tournament. Perhaps the strategy was to make use of Akshar with 2 right-handed batters at the crease and to save Bumrah for the dangerous middle order of the West Indies. Akshar conceded just 5 off his first over. Bumrah was introduced in the 5th over. As expected, he controlled the ball brilliantly, but then Ross and Chase produced a ramp for 4 in the style of Sam Constas. He skied the ball to cover next, and Abhishek Sharma dropped a catch that even I would have caught. Ross and Chase was starting to play with real freedom, hitting 2 boundaries off the next Akshar over. West Indies rounded off the power play well at none for 45. After the power play, West Indies accelerated gradually, playing with good control. West Indies looked very good at none for 66 after 8 overs. Then in the 9th over, Varun Chakravarti came on and broke the deadlock, clean bowling Shai Hope. Then in came the dangerous Shimron Hetmeyer, who has just gone to another level for the West Indies batting at 3. He made his presence felt with a big 6 off Hardik on his 3rd ball, and then a second 6 off Varun. He also hit another boundary off that Varun over, which went for 17. Bumrah was brought back for his 2nd over. Before this match, Hetmeyer had a poor record against Bumrah, being dismissed 5 times for just 15 runs. And this was absolutely the right call, as Bumrah not only removed him, but he also removed Ross and Chase. The West Indies needed to rebuild again at 3 for 103 after 12 overs, with 2 fresh batsmen in. At the start of the 13th, a catch was dropped, this time Tilak Varma on the fence off the bat of Rutherford. If he had started on the fence rather than 5 yards in, he may have caught it. Rutherford and Powell then batted through to the drinks break at 3 for 119, only for Rutherford to feather one to the keeper off Hardik. It looks like he was getting it to seam out there, and Hardik almost bowled a wicket maiden, but Holder hit a 6 down the ground off the last ball of the over. But after this, Holder and Powell got into their groove and scored heavily off Arshdeep and Varun, putting the West Indies in a strong position at 4th 163 by the 17th over. Bumrah returned in the 18th over to bowl his 2 death overs. If the West Indies could find a way to get runs off him, 200 was well and truly on the cards. And they did do that, taking 12 off the 18th over, finding the fence twice. India could have had Rovman and Powell out by the 19th, but a 3rd catch was dropped. But Arshdeep bowled brilliantly in that over, only conceding 6. A great comeback from him after conceding 24 off his previous over. So the West Indies had 181 on the board and 2 set batsmen with 1 over left, Bumrah to bowl. And the West Indies won that particular battle, Powell and Holder both finding the fence in an over that yielded 14. The West Indies had a very competitive total on the board. It may have been a flat pitch, but scoreboard pressure really counts for something, even against great batting lineups like India. As for India's performance on the field, it was a night where India had to be at their best, and so far they hadn't quite been. Unless India delivered an exceptional batting performance, they will live to rue those drop catches. Rovman Powell in this interview said he was happy with the score but felt as if it was a good batting track and would have liked about 15 more runs. There'll be a lot of attention on the effect of dew. There is anti-dew spray on the field, the effectiveness of which is yet to be seen. Back in the team, Akeal Hosein opened the bowling as he had done for most of the tournament. At the other end was Matthew Forde, who had found some seam movement. India batted cautiously in the first 2 overs with none for 12. What followed was a dramatic over off Akeal Hosein. Samson unleashed, scoring 17 off the first 5 balls of the over. Then Abhishek took the strike and miscued a lofted pull, holding out to deep square leg. In arrived the in-form Ishan Kishan, but he was removed by Jason Holder just 2 overs later, putting India in a precarious position at 2:45 by the 5th over. But after his wicket, Samson just kept bashing the ball around in a way that was Sehwag-like, while Suryakumar Yadav tried to find his feet. India put on 3 big overs after the power play, 14 off the 7th over from Holder, 11 off the 8th over from Moti, and 13 off the 9th from Shepherd. India were now ahead of the required run rate at 2 for 91 after 9 overs. Then in the next 2 overs, the West Indies were able to rein in India, just when it looked like the game might have been getting away from them. Moti conceded just 7 off the 10th over, and he could have had Suryakumar Yadav out, but spilled a sharp catch off his own bowling. Then in the 11th over, the West Indies finally introduced Shamar Joseph. And what an introduction it was. He dismissed Suryakumar Yadav and only conceded 3 in an over with some blistering pace. Ross and Chase kept the pressure on in the 12th over, keeping it tight, conceding just 3. It looked like India's tournament might have been on the line, as the required run rate had gone up to 11.5 and over now, but India still had Sanju Samson in, who had now passed 50. But it was Tilak Varma who shifted the momentum back India's way, as he smashed 3 fours in a row off the Shamar Joseph over, then smashed a 6 in the next over off Ross and Chase. India took 32 off the next 2 overs, and again establishing a strong position at the second drinks break. The West Indies desperately needed a wicket now, and a wicket is what they got. Holder drew a false shot from Varma, and Hetmeyer held a tough catch. But that wicket did little to slow down the runs, Samson cracking a 4 through point just 2 balls later. Hardik joined them and wasted no time finding the boundary early in his innings, turning one to the fine leg boundary off Shamar Joseph, who is now struggling for control. That 16th over went for 14 and India could smell victory now. The West Indies were starting to fall apart now, Holder dropping Pandya off the first ball of the 17th over. The Indian batsmen continued to calmly chip away at the required runs, leaving them with just 25 to get off the last 3 overs. Hardik was dismissed by Shamar Joseph at the start of the 19th over, but this wouldn't cause any dramas as Shivam Dubey stepped up and hit 2 fours off his first 3 balls. Another example of an Indian batsman just being so good at scoring quickly from the get-go. And Sanju Samson finished off a clinical chase in style, a 6 and a 4 to end on 97 not out and finish the game with 4 balls remaining. It was the highest score by an Indian in a T20 World Cup chase. This India side just has this quality that many great teams have, where if one star player doesn't perform, then no one steps up to the plate. If Kishan doesn't get the runs, then Samson will. If it's not him, then it'll be Dubey, etc, etc. It wasn't the best bowling performance by the West Indies at times, but they were up against an Indian side that just put a lot of pressure off bowlers, so your bowlers really have to be at their best if they are to contain them. It was a World Cup the West Indies can be happy with their performances in my opinion, but ultimately they fell in the same fashion that they did in the previous edition of the World Cup. I think they'll be regretting not playing Moti instead of an extra batsman against South Africa, as that appeared to be a mistake which ultimately cost them. India will be happy with their return to form, particularly as far as the batting is concerned. Perhaps I'll expect more from their bowlers as they've conceded over 180 in all their Super 8 games. Hardik Pandya in particular has been nowhere near as economical as he can be at his best, and Arshdeep Singh also struggled in this match. But perhaps the main disappointment in this match has been their fielding. 3 catches dropped, and if they had held them, it would have been a much simpler chase. India will play England in their semi-final. I'm expecting a good competitive game of cricket. I will be covering that match on this channel, so please do subscribe if you want to catch that one when it drops. That'll be all for this video. Please give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and comment your thoughts on the match below, and I'll catch you in the next one.